Alright, so framing this gable end, the goal here is to have there's two windows up there. The goal is to have them directly on top of the two inside windows on the first floor. So let's see how they do. I was setting this up, it occurred to me, I remember setting this shot up the day we poured the foundation. That was just over 8 months ago. That was in April 2020, April 1st, I remember when we poured the foundation. Today's January 5th, 2021, so 8 months, we've come a long way. Yeah, back then I had no idea it would take 9 months before we were well into the framing of the house. But in these projects, you gotta be patient and stay the course, and things will come together. This is one part of the project that if I had been doing this myself, I would have struggled with how to get this done. The way they did it was the guy in the up top there, he would measure the long point of each stud and then give the measurement to the cut man on the ground, and he would cut the stud with the same angle on every cut. So then they would just move down the line, install them as they went, cutting one at a time, nailing it to the top plate of the lower wall, and then nailing it up top to the rafter going up. So that's how it's done. You do the wall, you do the rafters, you do the intermediary studs here. Here you see them putting them in, and they used a level to get the exact location of the window below, so that the windows on the top went right over those windows and everything looked right when it was done. So this strengthened up the end of the wall quite a bit and made it possible for us to go on to the next step, which is sheathing. There's a good look at the framing, the gable end wall we just finished. Now, we're going to go frame this roof over the mudroom. That's the next project. Good?
Yep. For now. Just hold that side. Go ahead. Yep.
The plans called for 2x10 rafters over this mudroom, but after we made up a mock rafter, we discovered that there wasn't enough room for window trim of those two windows you see above the roof, so we dropped them down to 2x6s, which still meets code, and it'll be plenty strong enough for this room. Good morning. We're going to kind of switch gears today. We wanted to get the ice and water on the roof today, but we got a little snow flurry overnight, so the roof needs to be dry and warm for that stuff to stick, and it's neither of those right now. So we're going to switch gears and start getting wall sheathing up. So my job is I'm going to go and insulate all where an interior wall meets an exterior wall. You got what's called a backer in there, where you take a 2x4 this way and two 2x6s this way, so it creates a void behind it. And the only time to insulate that void is before the sheathing goes up. So I'm ripping down some 2-inch foam and putting 2 layers of 2-inch foam in there before we put the sheathing on. So I'll take you along and show you that, and then we'll start laying up, turn this place green, as they said. So we'll put the Zip-R sheathing up, and exciting, we'll start to get this place closed in.
1/4 inch nail.
Yeah.
Got to go through 1.5 inches of sheathing into the stud. House is going to be warm before we insulate it.
Yeah. Got little stuff. I was like, didn't sound good. Yeah.
If you do it right, your nails go in the circles.
You're supposed to.
If you do it right.
Well,
We did it right.
as long as you put
Things
the
line up.
out,
Yeah.
and you start 16,
Right, right.
16 work.
Right.
Otherwise,
Not so much.
Now, using the Zip-R sheathing created several challenges, but I feel the benefits greatly outweighed those challenges. Number one, the sheer weight of the panels necessitated not putting the sheathing on before we stood the walls up. Each panel weighs about 64 pounds, so I think I mentioned in an earlier video, if we had put the panels on the wall before we stood them up, it would have made the walls very heavy. So that's why we did it this way. We framed all the walls and then we added the panels later. Because it's 1.5 inches thick, we had to use a 3 1/4 inch nail to nail it in, a coil nail, which is about the longest nail you can get for a coil nailer. So that was a challenge. But the biggest challenge was the dust from cutting it. When you're cutting the foam, it creates a really nasty dust, and had to use a mask to combat that. But the benefits, the biggest benefit is the fact that you prevent all thermal bridging by putting insulation outside of the house. I like to call it outsolation. Thermal bridging is the act of heat and air going through the studs and the outside sheathing. If you just break it up with the insulation, continuous building envelope around the outside of the house, then you don't get the heat loss and the air conditioning loss you'd normally get. So that's why I decided to go with it. Did add significant expense. These sheets were anywhere from $58 to $61 a sheet, and I bought 80 of them, but I'll get that money back in the long run. A good way to visualize thermal bridging is if you ever look at your house when it's very cold in the morning and you can see the condensation on the studs from the outside of the house. That's thermal bridging. That's heat leaving your living space and going through the wall studs to the outside. So hopefully this will prevent that situation. This took the guys better part of the day to get the sheathing up, but as Don mentioned, once you get the first one in the right place, get it on the 16-inch centers, it's easy from there on. And you'll notice that they just put the sheets right over the window openings. That's to best use the sheets and get the best shear out of strength, that is, out of these sheets. They just go right over the window openings. You see right there, they're putting that one right over the window opening, and then they cut it out later. And that's the best use of the material.
Just want to show the detail here. What we did is put a 2x4 ledger, nailed it right to the rim in the sill plate, and that's the thickness of the Zip-R. That gave us something to set the sheathing right on. So if this is level, this is level. So we got snapped the line, got this level, put this right on, and you can see the detail over here. And then we'll have piece of flashing come down, go out like this, down like that, and it'll be the metal. That'll give me something to nail the metal to. It'll cover this insulation. We're going to use the metal roofing like we used on the barn all the way around the foundation. All right, so today was a great day. We got, as you saw, we got a lot of the sheathing on the house, the Zip-R sheathing. We got about 3 of the walls done. Just have the big gable end wall here to do, and you know, along the top. We ended up putting that 2x4 all the way around the house, and that left us 10 feet from the top of that 2x4 up to the soffit. So we're not going to waste any of the plywood. It's $58 a sheet with the insulation on it. So tomorrow the weather is supposed to be nice for this time of year, 40 degrees and sunny. So the plan is to get the outriggers done on the gable ends here. Where are we? Over here, over on the, you get what I'm saying, on the gable ends. Get the outriggers for the 1-foot overhang, cut the plywood, nail all the plywood down on the edges, and then get all that ice and water shield on the roof so that the roof is weather tight. And then after that, we'll finish up the plywood and get the windows and doors in. I know you see some in the front here, like half the door is cut open, and one of the side lights is open. But we just went over all the window openings with the sheathing so that that's the best way to do it, to get the most shear out of the plywood. So we'll cut all the window openings right when we're ready to put the windows in. And pretty soon I'll have a wood stove in here. So let's see how we do tomorrow. Well, hey, it's the next day, and let me show you what we got going today.
You start sliding, you down I start sliding, you better jump.
Yeah.
All right, what Don's doing here is he's just cutting the plywood to accept the outlookers. When we put the plywood on the roof, they hung it over that last rafter about 16 inches, and it only wants to be about 12. The only way to get that really straight is to just let them all hang off and then come back, snap a line on the plywood, and then get up there like he's doing and cut it. And that way you get a nice straight cut on that gable end. He says he's tried it different ways over the years, and this gives you the best results, so that's how we did it. So here's a good shot of the, you can see the top piece of zip sheathing in. But what I'm really trying to show you here is the blocking we put between the rafters. We had a bunch of cutoffs from the rafters, the 2x12s, and I was there, and it dawned on me that when we go to spray foam, what I'm showing you there, those stud bays there between the rafters, when we go to spray foam that, either that spray foam is going to fall into the soffit box, or else there's not going to be enough of it, because the spray foam applicator is going to be worried that it's going to fall in. So we decided to put that blocking up there, and that'll give him something nice to spray foam against, so that we can ensure that we get as much insulation in those bays as possible. So all of these bays here on the roof will be spray foamed with closed cell spray foam to give us the maximum R value and the best sealing capacity. And you need to leave a space just under the plywood for the air to come up underneath the roof and then come out the ridge vent. That's what I'm showing you there. So we're going to have to come up. I don't really think that the baffles that you buy are going to be good enough I think they crush. So I think I want to get something, put some blocking in there, and like maybe some 1-inch foam in each individual bay. It'll be a lot of work, but I think it will be worth it in the long run. And here's a shot of Nick cutting the sheathing out of one of the window openings. And the way they did this was, when they put the sheathing up, they measured down from the top of the sheet down to the sill, and they made a mark on the outside so they knew how far down that opening should be. And then they just marked it out with a chalk line, and then they just cut it out with the circular saw.
putting sheathing on the walkout wall here. It's tall walls. Let's see, it's 8, 16 plus 12, 28 feet high. So the Terra handle is really the only way to do it. Like blocks in.
Look, the wood is down the block there.
Don't need nails in that one. Why didn't it fall out? Come on, Nick, you're screwing my YouTube video up. We need the dramatic fall of the plywood. I don't think there's a window there.
There is now.
Hit it with a hammer. There you go. Hey, look at that. All right, well, the end of another week. Guys are still working, but I'm going to wrap this one up right here. So you saw us get the plywood on the outside, and that felt really good. Get this place sheathed up, and we got this gable wall done, and we got that little roof done over the mudroom, and you know, got the blocking in for the insulation between these rafters here. Another great week. Next video we'll be putting windows and doors. Time to do that. We didn't get to the ice and water shield this week, so we'll get to that next week. Next week's our last good week of weather as far as temperature goes. We're going to put some primer down first so that stuff will stick, and then we'll be weather tight. I also picked up the chimney pipe, so maybe we'll get that put in. I'll show you that process. And the wood stove's coming next week too, so maybe, everybody cross your fingers now, maybe we'll get this place closed in next week and get some heat in here. And then that'll make life good. We can go on with the mechanicals and won't be freezing cold. So, and I'm also going to get the siding coming so that we can get going on that. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel, follow along in the rest of our home build, and lots of other stuff after the house is done. So anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time from White Pine Woods.